Picture this. You are walking through a busy South African township where the hum of daily life is punctuated by tense whispers and quiet exchanges. Suddenly, a collective shake of the head spreads, a rumor reaching boiling point and sparking unease. This is the reality for many as Zimbabwean nationals in South Africa warn they may leave en masse. Their frustration comes not from an external crisis, but from within South Africa itself, from a vigilante movement known as Operation Dudula. If the state fails to act against those responsible for harassment and violence, Zimbabweans warn they will withdraw their labor and their presence. This is not just a casual protest, but a plea for safety, dignity, and survival. Today, we unpack what this moment means, why it matters, and where it could lead. To understand this crisis, we need to step back. Operation Dudula did not emerge out of thin air. It grew from frustration and broken promises of post-apartheid South Africa. Around mid-2021, after unrest and looting in Soweto, citizens took matters into their own hands. They began blaming migrants for unemployment, crime, and strained social services. The word Dudula means to force out in isiZulu, perfectly expressing their mission of driving out foreign nationals. What started as small community action quickly grew into a national movement. Supporters argued they were protecting their country, while critics accused them of vigilantism and xenophobia. By 2023, Operation Dudula registered as a political party, planning to contest elections. For many migrants, this was terrifying. The very group that had chased them from clinics and threatened them in the streets was now entering mainstream politics. Even as leaders promised to soften their approach, the core message did not change. Migrants were still framed as the problem, and exclusion remained central to their agenda. On the ground, the reality is harsh. Dudula supporters have blocked clinics, refusing entry to people without South African IDs. Pregnant women, children, and the sick were turned away, violating constitutional guarantees that healthcare is for everyone within the country's borders. One viral confrontation saw a patient angrily ask, "Is this your father's hospital?" after being denied treatment. It revealed the absurdity of vigilantes taking the law into their own hands, intimidating the vulnerable, and undermining democracy. In this climate, Zimbabwean community leaders warned that if the government fails to act against Dudula's leaders, they may have no choice but to leave. Their absence would be felt quickly. Zimbabweans work in construction, hospitality, domestic services, and retail. Without them, projects would stall, businesses would struggle, and households would be disrupted. At the same time, leaving would mean families uprooting and abandoning communities they've built, only to face hardship back home in Zimbabwe's weak economy. The state's silence has been striking. Authorities have taken little firm action against Dudula leaders, often dismissing them as just another community group. Yet the Constitution is clear. Section 27 guarantees healthcare to all, not just citizens. When vigilantes block access, they are breaking the law and eroding South Africa's democratic values. Human rights groups have urged government intervention, warning that without it, vigilantes will only grow bolder. Dudula continues to argue it is defending South Africans, claiming migrants take jobs, housing, and services. But critics say this is a dangerous scapegoat. Migrants are not responsible for unemployment, corruption, or collapsing services. Blaming them shifts anger away from leaders who should be accountable and directs it toward the vulnerable instead. The Zimbabwean warning carries heavy implications. If large numbers actually leave, South Africa would face labor shortages in critical sectors, strained relations with Zimbabwe, and fractured social cohesion. Their departure might embolden Dudula, who could see it as a victory, only to later realize the economic loss it creates. Looking ahead, several outcomes are possible. The first is that the state finally cracks down on vigilante leaders and restores constitutional protections, easing tensions. The second is that government remains passive, Dudula grows stronger, and violence escalates, pushing Zimbabweans to leave. The third and most dangerous path is Dudula's ideology spreading into mainstream politics, normalizing exclusion and creating a harsher future for migrants. Still, there is space for hope. South African civil society has a strong history of resistance, from the fight against apartheid to holding leaders accountable. Community groups, churches, and activists are already pushing back against Dudula. Courts remain a safeguard, and international organizations are paying attention. If pressure mounts, South Africa could turn this crisis into an opportunity to reaffirm democratic values and protect vulnerable communities. This is more than a dispute between one movement and one migrant group. It is a test of South Africa's identity and its future. Will the country move toward inclusion and justice, or slide deeper into division and exclusion? Zimbabweans may be the ones warning of departure, but the consequences of this moment will touch every South African, citizen and migrant alike. Thank you for watching and for joining me in exploring one of the most pressing issues facing the nation. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe so you do not miss future analysis. Most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Zimbabweans will actually leave in large numbers, and what impact would that have? Will government act against Dudula, or will this crisis continue to spiral? Let's talk about it together, because this is not just news. It is the story of people, communities, and the future